Omari Akil from Medium wrote an interesting perspective on Pokemon Go and how some portions of the population get to enjoy and play the game in a way that maybe other portions of the population don't.
Oh, I can't wait to see where this is going. Hello, this is Mr. Reality, and today we are going to be looking at a video from the Young Turks. Yep, let's get to it.
So apparently he's concerned about people of color, black individuals specifically, playing Pokemon in a public place and appearing to be suspicious when in reality they're doing something as innocent as playing this game.
Well, I can't speak for other people, but if I see someone walking around looking at their phone, I assume that they're playing Pokemon Go. Because, you know, most people by now have heard of the game.
He says, I spent less than 20 minutes outside. This is when he was playing his game. 5 of those minutes were spent enjoying the game. 1 of those minutes I spent trying to look as pleasant and non-threatening as possible as I walked past a somewhat visibly disturbed white woman on her way to the bus stop. I spent the other 14 minutes being distracted from the game by thoughts of the countless black men who have had police called on them because they look suspicious, or wondering what a Second Amendment exercising individual might do if I walked past their window a 3rd or 4th time in search of a Jigglypuff.
Where to even begin with this? Well, I guess first off, how paranoid is this guy? He tries to look as non-threatening as possible. Well, let me give you some tips. To look non-threatening, hold your phone out and look for Pokemon while you're walking. I don't know. I doubt that's threatening to most people. And as for the visually disturbed woman, well, there's not enough information given here, but how do we know she was disturbed by the guy who was looking for Pokemon? She could just be thinking of something else that happened that day that she was worried about, or something that may happen. You don't know that it's related to that guy. And what will a Second Amendment exercising individual do if you walk past their window a 3rd or 4th time? Well, they're not going to just go out and shoot you. That is a myth. Now, there's a possibility that they'll confront you and ask what you're doing, but you can just tell them you're playing Pokemon Go. I mean, show me an instance where a Second Amendment exercising individual who legally had a gun just went out and shot somebody because they walked past their window a few times.
So that's a really interesting perspective that I didn't really think of. So these are people who are going out in public places to play the game, right? That's the way it works.
Yes, that is the way it works. You are so with the times.
And for someone who doesn't know about Pokemon,
they're definitely the minority, at least in America. I mean, even older adults make Pokemon Go jokes. I mean, yeah, most everyone knows about Pokemon.
Doesn't think of Pokemon as the first thing.
Does it matter whether they think of it as the first thing? Surely when running through a list of possibilities of why this guy is walking past their house a few times while holding a cell phone, pointing it around, or out in just a random space holding a cell phone and pointing it around, they'll probably think of Pokemon because most people know about Pokemon Go.
They might see an individual maybe pacing around, looking around, and think, oh my, that person is super suspicious. And remember, you see something, say something.
I'm still waiting for the reason why this only applies to people of color.
And who knows what that could possibly lead to?
Well, let's see. It could possibly lead to the police being called, and then whoever was playing Pokemon Go having to explain that, and then everything's fine. Unless, of course, the individual is trespassing or something like that while playing, in which case it could lead to a little bit more than everything being fine.
So, I don't know. It's
so
really
now,
interesting.
This is one guy's experience, so we're not trying to over-extrapolate from this.
Really? That's not the feeling I get.
But the reason why I found this story interesting is because even I didn't, and I try every day on the show to see something from other people's perspective, right?
If you actually do try to see things from other people's perspectives, Chink, you fail miserably and horribly. I mean, you fail worse than anyone in the history of failed-dom.
And we talk about it all the time. And yesterday, John and I covered a Pokemon story, and we were worried about all the different dangers. You might walk on the road, you know, people aren't going to be paying attention. They're going to be driving and looking for Pokemon. And so there's a bunch of, and people get lured into certain places and robbed. That was a story we did yesterday.
And those are valid concerns. But this whole, it's dangerous for black people because America is horribly racist, that's not a valid concern.
But I didn't think of this. And so when I read this, I was like, oh my. See, if I walked around aimlessly, which I did the other night, I just wanted to walk around my neighborhood. I walked around, didn't have a care in the world. If you were an African American guy my age or younger, walking around the same neighborhood, would somebody have called the cops on you?
Let's see. Nope, just as expected. No citations to any source that shows that what you just said is true. Just another unproved statement from Chank Yogurt.
If you're playing this Pokemon Go game and you're walking back and forth, as all these guys are, 3 or 4 times in the same area, if you're white, it might not be an issue. And it might be if you're in a poor neighborhood, this, that, there's a lot of different factors. But for African Americans, it is oftentimes an issue.
So you admit that there are different factors, but then you go on to say that for black people, it is oftentimes an issue. With no citations of any kind, just one guy writing an article about how he doesn't feel safe.
And now he's thinking, this is a bad idea. I can't play this game because somebody's going to either call the cops on me or decide that they're going to take, they're so worried they're going to take the law into their own hands or protect themselves. I mean, look at what happened to Trayvon.
Oh, you bring up Trayvon. You know, you really could have picked a better example. While George Zimmerman shouldn't have been following him, Trayvon still shouldn't have jumped on him, beat him up, and tried to take his gun from him. I think a simple, dude, why are you following me, would have been in order.
He just walked to the store and walked back, and Zimmerman happened to be looking for people who were suspicious. Sees a young black guy and goes, that's it, he's suspicious. And even though he had an iced tea and Skittles on him.
Ah yes, Skittles and iced tea, perfectly innocent. Except it's not, because if you bother to do some research, you'll find out that Skittles and iced tea are used along with over-the-counter cough medicine to create a drug known as purple drank or lean. And one of the side effects of this drug is to create agitation and paranoia, which it could very well be why Trayvon Martin attacked George Zimmerman and tried to take his gun, leading to his death. And yes, I will provide links in the description of my video to my sources.
You know the rest. And next thing you know, he's dead.
Next thing you know, no, he attacked George Zimmerman and then he's dead. You gotta put that part in there because that's a very vital part of the story, which does not fit your narrative, so I guess I see why you didn't put it there.
We live in such a state of paranoia.
Because we all use drugs made with Skittles, iced tea, and over-the-counter cough medicine.
And fear of people who don't look like us being violent and doing something terrible to us.
Again, I can't speak for everybody, but personally, I'm not so much afraid of people who don't look like me. I would be much more afraid of someone who looked like me, but I assume you don't mean exactly like me. But yeah, I'm just more cautious of people in general that I do not know. I don't care about their skin color.
It's scary when you live in America and being in a public place is actually less safe.
What?
Right?
Yeah, and if, you know, some people in America, calling the cops is perfectly safe. You feel great when you call the cops, they're going to come and protect you. For some people in America, you call the cops and you feel less safe.
Now I wonder whose fault that could be, that some people in America don't feel safe calling the cops. Could it possibly be the fault of the people who go out saying that all cops are racists who want to kill black people? Could it, just bear with me for a minute, could it be their fault? Think about it.
And so those are the different perspectives that we want you to think about and look at, and that's why I appreciated this article, because it made me see something from a different perspective.
Ah yes, the perspective of a deeply paranoid person.
And it's a shame that it's a fun game, so I hear. I mean, I'm not into chasing Jigglypuffs.
Congratulations, you know the name of the only Pokemon that was mentioned in that article. You get a gold sticker, Chank. You are so hip.
But if that's what you're into, I don't want to judge.
You see, this is my not judging face.
And I get that it's cool that there's something virtual, but it's in the real world. And so some people, last thing, some people talk about white privilege, right?
Only the people who believe that nonsense.
And I think, again, it's a phrase that's misinterpreted because a lot of white people think, well, I'm not privileged. I'm poor. I'm middle class. I'm working hard. I can barely pay my rent. What the f are you talking about, privileged? But what they're trying to get you to see is this is a privilege you have no idea exists. I had no idea exists.
Right.
I could walk around all day long.
I don't think this guy knows the privilege exists either.
That's why they call it white privilege.
And again, I think the biggest takeaway that I want people to have when it comes to our discussions about white privilege is just because you're white doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong.
Yes.
Right?
I like how Anna keeps saying, right? Because apparently she needs Chank's validation for all of her opinions. Yep, you're a strong, independent woman there.
It's a systemic issue that you might have nothing to do with whatsoever. It's not placing a blame on you.
You know, that's funny because when I hear the term white privilege, it's usually used by someone who's trying to silence someone who disagrees with them and just happens to have a lighter shade of skin.
It's just talking about society as a whole and how we view certain groups of people versus other groups of people. How we give certain groups of people the benefit of the doubt while we're very suspicious about other groups of people.
Oh, I see. White people get the benefit of the doubt and black people don't. So if a white person commits a crime and gets shot by the police and dies, is the media going to report that an innocent white person was shot and that cops are racist against white people? Because white people get the benefit of the doubt, right? Right?
Yeah, we get that it's not like you're born white and everybody comes in and goes, congratulations! Here's your set of privileges! No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's more like, well, get ready to start apologizing for how you were born.
What we're trying to get you to see is sometimes it sucks even more for other people because they don't even get some of the benefit of the doubt that you get and you don't even realize you're getting.
And sometimes white people don't get any of the benefit of the doubt that non-white people get. You see how this works? No, of course you don't.
So that's why I like this article. And I hope he goes back to playing Pokemon, I guess, and that he's perfectly safe. So it would be nice if we all had the same freedoms in this country, but we're working towards it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for someone to show us a freedom that white men have that no one else does. Still waiting. I mean, no one's been able to yet, but yeah, they probably won't be able to. Because there isn't one.